This is a video I've been meaning to bring out for a long time, and hopefully I can get it out on time. I've had a lot of people ask me, when's the video coming out? When's the video coming out? And I really wanted to go into a lot of detail with what's involved in tuning, the R&D, what was difficult, and really, like I said throughout this whole series, be honest with what we do here. Now this might get a few LC300 or even just Toyota purists upset. At the end of the day, this is a video about modifying and getting more power and more torque from the 300 series. So if you're not interested in tuning it, if you're not interested in modifying it, stop watching now. Really, you don't need to watch it. Turn off. If you are a purist, turn off right now, because you're not going to like what you see. If you want to see the information, what we went through, how we got there, what we achieved, and you want to see the reasons behind it, watch on. I've asked both Mark and Rob to sort of step in on this one and really break it down and explain technically what we do to achieve the power, the torque, the economy, the drive from the 300 series Land Cruiser. So watch, enjoy. If you're a purist, turn off now, because I don't think you're going to like what you see. Once again, very honest review, or very honest feedback, I guess. And this is how we live tune a Uni-X E.C.U to suit your LC300.
Okay, so Unichip is a additional supplementary computer. It allows us to tune any fuel injected vehicle, whether it be petrol, diesel, LPG, whatever. It's been around since the 90s. I've been involved with it since then. It basically is an add-on module. You can do 5 different tunes. So you're not locked into, like a tow tune or a safe tune or a power tune, where at the flick of a switch while you're driving, you can switch between 5 different tunes, whether it be power, towing, economy, bit of 4x4, which have all got different strategies built in, and you can change that on the fly. So that makes it really universal. You can't achieve that many other ways. So that basically allows you to cater for all conditions that you might encounter while you're driving, whether you just want to have a bit of a go from the lights, or you're towing van on the weekends. You can have a tune to suit every occasion, if you like. The new things about the 300 series is the turbo arrangement, being a twin turbo vehicle, and they're what you call a sequential turbo, so both turbos don't work at once. They basically run a little turbo for below sort of 2,500 RPM, and then it switches over to a bigger turbo at the higher RPM. Hence why you can see the dip in those graphs, and that's basically where it changes over. So there's lots of flaps and controls. So basically there's a flap closing off the exhaust gas, if you like, to the bigger turbo, and everything takes time for it to open and for that second turbo to start spinning and build some boost up, and that's why you see that dip in the graph. It did offer a bit of a challenge as far as tuning wise, just getting our head around it, what it liked, what it didn't like, how we can affect that dip in the graph between the changeover between the smaller and larger turbo. So that's been quite challenging, getting a good idea on how Toyota make these things work, if you like.
I just wanted to say thanks for giving me 5 minutes of your time so we can go on this drive.
Well, I get out of it in 5 minutes, do I?
Well, what I'm trying to do here is not point out an obvious flaw with a car, just pointing out a way of detecting it so people can understand what we're talking about when we say the crossover point between the primary and the secondary turbo. There's been a few manufacturers have a go at the sequential turbo thing over the years, and they could never transition properly from primary to secondary. We've got to close diaphragm controlled, so there's this massive void from one bleeding off to the next one coming on. And in drive, you probably won't feel it that much. I can feel it, only because I'm a bit, gee, it's less than ideal. If I had that car, I wouldn't be that happy with it, but there's going to be 300 series owners go, he doesn't know what he's talking about, this smooth as silk. So I'm not here to produce an argument, I'm here to point out that, you know, things less than ideal, and the best way to feel the dip is drive it in manual mode, part throttle, bring it up just over 2,000 RPM, and oh, there we go. And all that is I brought it up. It's about to open the second turbo and then ease off a little bit, so it's, oh, hang on, he doesn't want the second turbo, and it's closed and open, closed and open. I'm holding a steady throttle and it's right in that point. The way these cars accelerate, they've got 10 gears to play with. They just rip through the gears. I'm talking full throttle here. And you're above that dip. And the way the gearing is, it keeps it above that, keeps it on that side of the dip, and you don't really feel it. You only feel it if you hit the throttle and you're below it, you'll drive through the dip and out the other side. The difficulty we had was trying to smoothen that out. The standard dip is 37, 38, 39 kilowatts of fall. So it falls 37 or 8, 9 kilowatts and then climbs back out of it. And that's a fair old trough. That's a big drop in power and torque at that point. So to try and blend that out and tune that out so that we've got a 20 kilowatt dip. So it's still a dip, it's always going to be a dip. But we're trying to minimise that dip.
Yeah, look, I mean, unless, you know, most of the time you're probably driving through that point. And with the 10-speed transmission is going to hide a lot of that dip, if you like. Transitions from the small turbo to the big turbo. But certainly, obviously, on the dyno, it shows up quite obviously. I think driving it, as you said, you don't notice it very much unless you're really looking out for it and you hold it right at that changeover point. Most people wouldn't even realise it's happening or going on unless you're really looking out for it.
Rob gave a really nice explanation of the primary, secondary turbo and how it works, and there's a flap arrangement, a diaphragm control, and you know we're fighting with a mechanical setup, so the size of that diaphragm and how quick it responds and all those sort of things. We've got control of all that stuff, but there's a fair bit of mechanical stuff happening there that does take time. Rob thought that you could hardly feel it on the road, and in some, depending on how you drive it, you can hardly feel it. But you can also, depending on, how you drive, and I don't know how everyone drives, you can hover right on that spot, and it is very noticeable. So it was really important for me in the R&D. Obviously we're not going to be able to get rid of it completely, but we'll smooth all those bumps out of it. That's what we're trying to achieve, just so it's not as glaringly obvious as what it is factory. I know everyone's, oh, I can't feel it, they're beautiful cars. I get it, they are a great car, but they've still got their flaws. Don't feel bad if you bought one because you didn't make it, you just bought it.
So we're halfway through the tuning, so I've kind of tried to condense it so you get a bit of an idea. A lot of information into a very short video. So this is Rob really sinking his teeth into it. He's actually making sense of it and really trying to close that dip up and make it not as apparent. So we can see that in the dyno graph. So I'll throw some videos up of him on the dyno. This is sort of, yeah, midway through. So have a look and yeah, we'll get stuck into it and follow the boys.
Trying to get rid of the dips.
Sorry?
Trying to play around with the dips in it.
Is it working?
Yeah.
It looks better.
Yeah, better than the first one.
It's not just stock LC300s that we see. In fact, you know, for the most part, I doubt very many of them that are going to come through the shop are going to have, you know, factory airbox and factory snorkels and things like that. Majority of them are going to be modified. If you judge 200 series or even the Y62 Nissan Patrol, people are going to use these for four-wheel driving. They're going to bolt everything to it. So, yeah, I wanted to touch base on the differences between a factory one and, you know, the setup that we've developed for it versus one that does have, you know, a snorkel and an airbox. So I grabbed the details off this customer's one that we were in the middle of doing as well. I just thought I'd throw some information because surely people are going to ask these questions.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is a little bit more difficult. It took a little bit more time to just get our tuning strategy around this twin turbo setup, especially with airflow characteristics and limits, if you like. I mean, obviously with this car, we'd never done one before. We've done all our development on a dead stock car, as we always like to do. Whereas this thing's got an aftermarket airbox and a, you know, rear-facing snorkel. It just brought a whole new level of problems. It was quite amazing. I mean, the dips just kept coming and coming and coming, and they wouldn't go away. So we had to, you know, I've just spent the whole morning doing a tuning strategy for this particular vehicle, and I guess that's the whole idea of the Unichip. We can custom tune to suit your mods, and I think what the 300 has shown is these mods, which are quite common mods, are really going to have an effect on your overall power and your overall drivability. Like I said, it's required a totally different tuning strategy than it did with the standard airbox. See here, this is just a graph of what I was explaining earlier about the airflow through the airflow meter not being happy. This is what happened when we just fitted the tune basically out of our own vehicle into this one, which has a modified airbox and snorkel. And you can see we've got the dip that happens as it changes over to the bigger turbo, and then it just got all these other big dips where it was obviously not happy with the amount of airflow through the airflow meter, and it was doing some crazy things with boost. So obviously that's what we have to spend some time on to get around that and tune this vehicle to suit the airflow demands with this air cleaner and snorkel package. And that's the thing, there'll be different brands of airboxes and different brands of snorkels. Everyone's got their own idea on what works and what doesn't. So, you know, these are going to need a bit of fine tuning at the end, you know, when you're getting this fitted up. Okay, so as we can see here, our red line is our standard power, or our before power, which on this vehicle was, you know, just below 150 kilowatts.
That's ours made 165, so it is a little bit lower, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why we tune every vehicle live on the dyno, and it's just not one size fits all. That's why we custom tune to suit every vehicle. Yeah, so you can see the 150. You can see there's that dip in the power, and that's basically where it transitions from the small turbo to the big turbo. Got our torque along this side, so you can see it made around 450 newton meters of torque. And here we have our different tunes. So blue is our power tune. You can see it made 198.4, call it 200 kilowatts, and 590 newton meters. Obviously down low we've picked up a good 50-60 newton meters as well. The dip in the changeover points considerably less. You can see how long it took in the standard power. We've managed to reduce it. We'll never be able to get rid of it completely because it is just a mechanical thing. It's not a tuning element. Obviously there's mechanical properties going on. And then yeah, you can see then we have our tow tune and eco tune, all just make a bit less power, a bit less torque. Obviously safer AFRs for towing and economy, and obviously different throttle strategies, and yeah, all that with the safety of water temperature and protection in the background. So I think it's come up quite well.
All right, so final takeaway from this video. I guess it goes to show, do you need a snorkel and an airbox? The answer is no. It produces more power with a factory airbox. Having said that, if you are going to go four-wheel driving, you're going to go through river crossings and you plan on sinking your car, absolutely buy a snorkel, buy an airbox and get it tuned to suit. Thanks for watching the video. If you've got any more questions, please inbox me, look me up at lc300_Aussie. That's the Instagram page. Comment here, find me at work, do whatever you need to do. I want to answer your questions. If you've got little tips or tricks or anything like that, if you need to see anything with the interior at all, ask me, I'll film it, I'll put it up, because I know a lot of people are waiting on these LC300s and they're just watching everything that, you know, comes out on YouTube. I want to help. So if you've got any questions at all, please hit me up. And if I can, I'll film it and I'll let you know. All right. Thanks for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, share. It does me a huge favor and it keeps on pushing me to make more content like this for you guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.